Welcome to the Dealing with Goliath podcast. The mission of Dealing with Goliath is to sharpen the psychological edge in negotiation, ethical influencing, and high-impact conversations for business leaders who want to be more effective under pressure, uncover hidden value, and build greater connection, all while increasing profitability. With expert guests across the business spectrum, we deliver gems of wisdom, delving into their methods, their thinking, and approach to business life and to problem solving. This is the short form espresso shot of insight podcast interview to boost business performance using our 5 questions in a roundabout 15 minutes format. My guest today is Andrea Waltz. Andrea is the co-founder of Courage Crafters, Inc. and co-author of the best-selling book, Go for No. Yes is the destination, no is how you get there. For almost 2 decades, Andrea has been teaching people in virtually every business and industry how to think and feel differently about failure, rejection, and the word no to achieve their goals and dreams. A member of one of the highest regarded professional groups of women in sales, Women Sales Pros, Andrea is considered a top sales influencer online. The book, Go for No, reached #1 in Amazon's sales and selling list in 2010 and has remained in the top 50 sales books for the last 13 years, selling over 500,000 copies. Wowzers. Andrea, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, it is my pleasure, Alistair. I'm so glad to be with you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I said to you just earlier there, it was one of the reasons I reached out to you. I love your philosophy. I love your approach. So let's dive straight into it. So who is your ideal client and what's the biggest challenge that they tend to face?
So I have 2 kind of answers to that, of the exact ideal client. One is anyone who has to sell anything for a living. That sounds kind of broad, but typically it's a B2B salesperson or a B2C salesperson, B2B or B2C, sorry.
Okay.
And then I guess the second piece to that client would be anyone who leads a team of those people. So it's fundamentally salespeople, though.
Very good, very good. So they're struggling with some of those difficulties that you mentioned on your website, that, as you said, they're often not following up with clients or not having some of those what they perceive as difficult conversations. Is that usually the trap they find them? Usually avoidant behaviours, if you want to use kind of coaching language.
That's well said. Yes, avoidant behavior. So procrastination in selling because they feel like they will just get a no. They don't want to experience the rejection, avoiding following up on potential leads, any kind of business building activity, income producing activity where people have to face a possible rejection or they have to possibly hear the word no. And so that's why salespeople are really my ideal client. But, even entrepreneurs, if you're fundraising, if you're going after guests on your podcast, whatever the case may be, you have to ask for things and you are going to get rejected. And so I try not to go too broad. I try to focus it, narrow it down, because obviously the more narrow you can be, I think the more likelihood that you are to be successful in business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when mostly these salespeople, but sometimes entrepreneurs as well, as you say, what are the common mistakes they make when they're trying to solve that problem?
Well, probably the biggest mistake is in just waiting for the right opportunity, right moment in order to make an ask. So dragging their feet, waiting, excuse me, making assumptions. So in other words, telling themselves a story like they think they know what this person will spend. They think they know what this person will do. And so as a result, they wait and do nothing because they figure, well, if I can wait it out, then somehow things will change. Somehow the rejection will get easier. If I put it off, it'll get easier when it's later. And of course, that's just not true. The other issue with that is that with the assumptions that people make, like about what they think is going to happen, a lot of those assumptions are based on nothing. They're just made up stories. And so the waiting, the procrastination, and the made up stories all lead to a situation where the person doesn't ask, They don't get a yes, they don't get a no, so they have no idea what's really happening. And then what happens, kind of the final piece to this, which is just kind of creates a almost self, perpetuating negative spiral, is that it gets scarier and scarier to make that ask. Then it seems like, oh, I've waited this long, I haven't asked for the raise, or I haven't asked for the sale, and now the fear goes up, the concern, the worry, and then it becomes even harder to do. So it's really becomes this cycle of that salespeople get themselves in relationship to that. And so we've got to stop that cycle from happening, remove those assumptions, and really get people to take action.
Excellent. I love that. There's so much to unpick there. I particularly love it. Well, first of all, my immediate thought when you were saying that, are people waiting for the perfect time, in inverted commas? Is that part of the problem?
Yes, they're waiting for the perfect time. In some cases, they're waiting for the perfect person. So they may this person isn't right, this person's not ideal. And so instead of learning, instead of practicing, it's kind of like, if you're looking for the perfect job, but you say, well, there is a job I could go interview for, but I'll probably just get rejected for it. Well, why don't you go get some experience under your belt, have the experience of doing it. And if you do get rejected, no big deal. And if you do get a yes, well, fantastic. Then you ended up with the job. So that it absolutely is the case.
It's a very interesting point you make as well there, that by not doing it in a timely manner, but earlier in the process, or getting those multiple yeses or nos by asking those questions, that it gets bigger and bigger in the stakes and in the nervousness, which of course, an awful lot of the connection, particularly people in sales or when they're negotiating, is their emotional state. So that, it's like desperation, it's never very attractive or appealing, in any sort of context. So when they're nervous and, as you said, maybe getting feeling that pressure, it's not good anyway. So getting in there early and practiced makes a huge difference. Absolutely, absolutely. So what might be one valuable free action that the audience can implement that will help them with this issue? What do you advise them to do, just even in maybe not solving the problem, but at least moving them in the right trajectory?
So it's a really counterintuitive strategy. It's probably the heart of implementing Go for No. Kind of there's two pieces. One is just simply to create a no awareness. So take a look at maybe a 7-day period and really look at how many no's are you getting? Like, do you hear no ever? Or do you play it so safe that you never hear no, you only hear yes? So you're not making any asks that are above and beyond. You're not taking any chances. You're not taking any risks. And then the next piece of that is, once you kind of examine and see where you are, is to start taking action. And that is by setting a goal for the number of no's you are going to collect. We call this a no goal. So we all typically set yes goals in business, right? It's like the yes goal is, I want to make $100,000 this year, or I want to get 10 clients this year, 10 customers, whatever. Those are really easy to measure. Those are typical yes goals. Setting a no goal would be, I want to hear 15 no's this year to X offer. I'm going to send in 30 resumes and I want to go 10 potential, interviews, or I'm going to set a no goal to raise this much money if I'm fundraising, whatever it is. So you set this number of no's, and in the process, you don't worry about the yeses. If you get your yes goal, if you get your 10 clients, if you make your $100,000, whatever, you keep going, because if you committed to that yes goal, you committed to that no goal, that's what you want to do. So the recommendation that we always have for no goals is break it down into weekly increments, and then even better, daily increments. So it varies for a lot of people. I've had people tell me that they've tried to get 100 no's in a month, which is a tremendous amount. But even, Alistair, I like to ask this question: what would happen to your business if you simply got to one ask, doesn't matter what category it's in, one no a day? Like an apple a day keeps the doctor away, one no a day. What would happen in 365 days in 1 year if you got one no a day, how many of those no's would end up being yeses that you probably wouldn't have asked because, again, you were too focused on fear, you were making assumptions, you were trying to protect yourself. And so setting a no goal, whether it's 1 a day or 10 a week, whatever it is the fastest way to implement Go for No. And then if you achieve that no goal, then you need to celebrate. Make sure that you celebrate. That's the final piece.
Very important. I have to agree with you a huge amount there, Andrew. You have to celebrate the wins. But I love that because you're putting a gauge of sorts on effort and implementation.
Exactly. It's very behavioral focused.
Yeah.
So Go for No is both a mindset. The mindset says, I need to be willing to hear no more often in order to get to success. It's a failure way to success mindset. If you want to hear yes more, you have to be willing to hear no more. The implementation part is set a goal for the number of no's you're going to collect.
Absolutely. It's the what do you call it? The lead and the lag. You know, that you can't control what the other person says, but you can control how many people you ask. You know, so I love that. It brings in that control, makes them implementers. And as you said, I don't know, you have me thinking now, what would the state of my business be in if I was getting a no every day? I must start doing that, actually. It's excellent.
Well, and it's funny because what you do is you start looking, your brain starts getting creative, right? You start saying, now, wait a minute, maybe I should go back to my best customer and ask them if they would like additional products or services. Maybe I should follow up on that person that told me no 2 months ago. Maybe I should go back to that person and see how they're doing and see if maybe now is a good time for them to say yes. So it forces your brain to start being creative.
Absolutely. And I love this because in some of my own programs, my own work with clients, I often challenge them to think outside, the cliche, think outside the box, but ask questions you wouldn't normally do. So if you're one of the challenges going into, a fast food restaurant or somewhere like that, where you think, I can't ask for a discount, and ask for a discount. Because the worst they can say is, no. But you would be amazed the amount of people that go, oh yeah, we have the special offer on this week. And they go, oh, right, brilliant. And you get 20% off or this thing for free or whatever. But they wouldn't mention that. They often don't volunteer that information. But when you ask in a pleasant and respectful manner, all the rest of it, but it's amazing how often people say either yes or, well, not in that way, but we can do this thing. How does that work out for you?
It's amazing. And then you think, why didn't they just share that? But that's not, they don't. You're right. They don't.
Well,
they don't.
Because you don't ask. So.
You don't ask, and their goal is not to necessarily. You have to fight for that. That's on you.
Exactly. This is something in innovation methodology, which is very important, and I love that because just like your nose, it's like if you're not failing enough, you're not trying hard enough, or you're not being innovative enough. But it's the same in going the other way of when they say no. I love that. Like, that's just an indicator of a new conversation. Exactly. So don't get mad, get curious, or don't get sad, get curious, which is exactly this time where you just go, well, that's interesting. Can you tell me why that is, or for what reason that's the case? And then you learn. Then you're learning. So it's excellent stuff. So what it might be one valuable free resource that you could direct people to that will help them with this process, with this issue?
So one fun thing people can do is come to our website at goforno.com/quiz. And we have a 20-question assessment that people can take to see where they are currently in their mindset and thinking around failure, rejection, and hearing the word no. It's a great place to start because even in taking the quiz, it will show you how you may be thinking of things kind of in the old model of, hey, I want to avoid failure. I want success. I want to avoid failure. I want more yeses. I want to avoid no. Taking this quiz will help you see where you are and maybe allow you to start working on some of those things.
That sounds excellent. Because just a question on that, do you find that an awful lot of people, when they do that quiz, realize that maybe they fear rejection or they fear that no more than they thought they did?
Absolutely. And the quizzes were really tricky. I'm just telling you right now, this is not an easy, it is a reverse. Some of the words are double negative. So you have to really read it carefully to say like, okay, what is this saying? Because we didn't make it easy. And we did that intentionally so that people would, when they go back and read their answers, say, oh, my success rate is actually, it's so high that what I'm doing is I'm actually not taking enough risks. And I'm not hearing no more because my success rate is this high. And so we ask a question about, are you really successful? Do you have a high success rate? And people say like, yes, and they'll think that's good. And it turns out that's a bad answer.
Okay. Because they're sitting on their laurels a little bit. Yes, makes
complacency.
Getting complacent, yeah. They're stopped growing a little bit. Okay. It's a very, very interesting observation. Really good one. So probably the last question, but what is the one question I should have asked you that would be of great value to our audience?
This is my favorite question. I think it is of great value. The question that you should have asked is, what's the best response to a no?
Yes, of course. So let's get in there because we have looked at that approach and all that. So I'm dying to hear, what is the best response to a no?
So first of all, your brain interprets a no as bad. And your brain also interprets a no as almost close to death because your brain's trying to protect you. And we're biologically wired to avoid rejection and to fear rejection. And this is a normal, natural way to be. That's how we're all biologically wired, because to be rejected thousands of years ago meant death. If you got thrown out of the tribe, you're hunting and gathering on your own. You're out in the cold, and that was certain death. So when you get that no, the first response has to be to stop very quickly, to shut down any negative thinking that you might have. We have a tendency when we get a no to catastrophize and say, oh no, this is terrible. Or, oh, I'm awful. I'm not going to make it. And I'm a terrible salesperson or whatever. And so we can't stop the thought from happening. It goes too fast. The thoughts are just within microseconds, just so fast. But as soon as we notice them, got to shut that down and say, wait a minute. No is just an answer. I got an answer. That's a good thing. What's my next move? And so your response that you need to be thinking in your head is, this is a good thing. I am successful people ask questions. Successful people make asks. So reinforce that you did the right thing, and then ask yourself the question, what's my next move? What can I do next? So how can I maybe continue to build the relationship with this person? Or maybe if it's just a quick, funny thing, like you're at the drive-in or something, drive through at the fast food place asking for a discount, just say, hey, I asked, I built, this is how I'm building my confidence, and then just let it go, right? Just my next move is I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to feel bad about or embarrassed or ashamed of getting a no. So the thoughts, the response to a no needs to be positive. It needs to be as quick and fast as you can catch it.
Outstanding. I love that. I love that, getting out of the fear response, getting into, as you said, more of that growth mindset. But this is literally the applied theory here. So absolutely brilliant stuff. So yes, so Andrea, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, www.goforno.com. And where can most people should go to the website? Where else can people find you? On LinkedIn, perhaps? Or
I'm LinkedIn, and I think if you type in "Go for No" on LinkedIn, you'll even find me. And Twitter and Facebook, I'm well branded. So if you type in "Go for No," I'm the only person out there talking about no all the time.
Absolutely. And have a read of her website, and if you think Andrea, if you like her tone, if you like her style, get the book on Amazon. It's a book is only going to do that well for that long if it seriously delivers. So please reach out and grab that. Okay, thank you so much, Andrea.
Thanks, Alistair. My pleasure.